A sleek new building reaches up into the bright blue sky. A red cross glows in the sky, and glowing blade shapes hover nearby. But inside the room marked psychiatry, a brown-haired doctor with sharp eyes behind her glasses stares at the patient with a mix of shock and surprise. You claim that every living thing looks like a pig, and the black-haired young man nodded silently to agree with this shocking truth, leaving the female doctor wide-eyed and stunned as she wondered if she was being joked at, or if she too was just a pig. The black-haired young man answers instantly with a scary, steady look in his eyes, saying yes. The heavy air suddenly turns icy as the young man stares, his eyes turning the serious female doctor into a bewildered pig wearing glasses. The female doctor stares at the handsome young man with confusion and a strange, suggestive hint, while he sweats nervously under her intense gaze. The female doctor stays calm and asks to check his health, then playfully lifts her chest with a daring look and asks what he sees, causing the young man to laugh at her silly pig faces while she complains about the insult, stands up straight to stare him down, and he stubbornly calls her a pig again, leaving the room awkward and her feeling disappointed and angry as she decides he is too crazy to save. The female doctor points to the spine model on the table with a serious expression and says, "Your spine has a serious problem," but a glimmer of hope appears as her hand clearly points out each deformed and twisted vertebrae. It's totally different from what a normal person would have. Your brain and optic nerve are being crushed by a severe deformation, which explains why you see everyone as pigs. The mystery is finally solved. The black-haired boy freezes with cold sweat, waiting for an answer to escape his silly mess, while the brown-haired doctor pushes up her glasses and speaks in a serious voice. She says surgery is her only chance to fix her spine, but the danger of going paralyzed is too great. If it goes wrong, you could end up paralyzed from the neck down. The dark-haired boy looks confused, but a spark of defiance lights up his eyes as he nods and takes the bitter truth. The black-haired young man's eyes turn cold and dark as he sharply cuts off the female doctor, demanding if she is done, then suddenly flash with a terrifying demonic red glow. He holds out his hand toward the spine model and asks, "So, can you give me back my spine?" The brown-haired female doctor freezes, realizing the black-haired young man has mistaken the plastic model for his own real spine. She sighed with regret, looking at the handsome young man. It's a shame to hear the city's noise echo as a bus stops on a busy street, picking up people with very different lives. As life goes on, Yuan sits on the crowded bus, yawning from exhaustion. Life goes on as usual, but inside his head, everything feels like it's completely different. Yan, whose real name is Yuan, gazes at the paper that says he is terribly ill, a heavy secret that has burdened his life since he can remember, a time when he has always seen everyone as pigs. He ponders if his parents' past as pig butchers is why he's sick, noting it mostly only messes up his dating life, while today brings a mix of desperate hope that he might get better before his big awakening ceremony, only for that hope to fade as the scene shifts to Qing Academy, where a giant blue crystal draws a huge crowd, and Yuan walks through them fearing his illness will ruin everything until a clear voice calls his name, and a worried yet relieved blue-haired girl affectionately scolds him for being late. In the middle of a noisy square, the blue-haired girl tightly grabs Yuan's arm and scolds him with half-teasing anger, while a creepy pig-faced demon with green hair suddenly appears in the dark and lets out a loud boom that feels like a curse for the bad luck just decided. Yan gulps nervously, his wide eyes reflecting the terrifying purple glow of the ceremony as he wonders about his own fate while others' destinies are already known. As Yan and Sholing Chun appeared, the blue-haired girl clinging to his arm drew every pair of eyes, while a gray-haired man sitting below laughed at them. Shuing Chunan complains about Yuan and their daily affection, but the red-haired girl teases that they are childhood sweethearts destined for marriage and kids after the ceremony, causing the blue-haired girl to explode in anger. Her face turns red, angry smoke billows, and her blue eyes burn with fire as she growls, grabbing his arm to say, "Don't talk nonsense." Yuan sweats in fear, too scared to fight back, while each one stands there with dark eyes and a lazy grin as his grumpy blue-haired friend whispers disdainfully beside him, urging Yuan to just ignore them. Even though destiny has been sealed, they refuse to accept it. As the awakening ceremony turns solemn, a gigantic crystal pulses with an otherworldly light in the center of the square, while the white-haired man stands tall before it, his decisive voice echoing as everyone lines up by their registration numbers. As the mystical space fills with solemn echoes, a dignified white-haired elder announces that this awakening ceremony is the time to prove your school lessons, revealing that your strength, agility, and spirit are the keys to unlocking a mighty new profession. Focus all your energy on the ceremony, for the power you awaken will shape your entire life, he said. When you awaken a high-level combat profession, It feels like defying fate, earning everyone's admiration, and bringing glory to Ching Chong Academy. The big waking up ritual had finally come. A heavy quiet filled the huge square where thousands watched in silence as a giant crystal stone glowed with magical light, standing like a door to destiny, and then a loud voice cut through the whispers to order everyone to put their hands on the pedestal, because the future of many was about to change. The room suddenly exploded in a flash, and a big man with wild hair jumped right into the swirling purple storm, while lightning tore across the sky like the universe itself was opening a giant door of power. Whoosh! A terrifying power was about to explode, but a brave student stepped forward, touched the energy orb with his hand, and watched as purple light erupted around the crystal, causing him to gasp in shock as words suddenly appeared. Lifeat, a skilled blacksmith, had his destiny shown and a new path opened for him. Another boy stepped forward, only to find his moment of awakening turned into a nightmare. He screamed and shook with terror, while the white-haired man stood calmly watching. Another boy stepped forward and touched the waking stone with a shaking hand, causing blue lightning to flash and reveal his destiny as an advanced healer, while an elder watched in silence as the giant crystal crackled with power and showed a new fate for a novice engineer, ending with a desperate scream. In the open square, a boy in a brown shirt fell to the ground in agony while an old man watched, but right there, a big, red-haired student stepped forward, shaking with fear and cold sweat as his terrible fate waited to be shown under the old man's dark eyes. A red-haired boy stood frozen at the edge of his fate, trembling with fear, wondering if he'd just choose a boring job, until a shaking hand brushed the stone and a blinding golden light burst through the air, promising that something truly amazing was about to begin. Brilliant golden words sparked to life and burned themselves deep into everyone's minds. In a crowd holding their breath, a red-haired student was shocked and a white-haired man's jaw dropped, witnessing a rare, shadowless swordsman of combat type. Cheers erupted as the crowd exploded in surprise and admiration at this rare grade, a profession that everyone had dreamed of. Everyone stared in disbelief as a true genius suddenly appeared before them. The man with white hair, his face glowing, broke into a happy smile. He asked the red-haired student, "What is your name?" And after straightening his chest, the boy proudly answered, "Principal, my name is Lu Jinglong," his voice ringing with confidence. The principal patted Lu Jinglong's shoulder, looking at him with great hope. "A good name. Go rest. I'll personally visit your home later to talk about your future." Lu Jinglong waved to the cheering crowd. "Thank you, Principal, but Brother Long is truly amazing. The special power of the Chosen One has completely wrapped around him." After Lu Jinglong's moment of glory, the principal roared like thunder, announcing that Yaoan was next. Yichuan walked forward with a calm smile, while Shu Ling Chun cheered from far away with eyes full of hope. The principal leaned over to the person beside him and whispered, "Brother Yan, you can do it," his eyes deep with thought. "This kid seems a little odd, but his numbers are amazing. While most folks only have 3, he carries 10. That's a full 3 times the usual amount." Yuan pressed both hands against the stone, his eyes locked on it without a single waver. Electricity started to buzz between his fingers, feeling like a warning sign for what was coming. Who knows what miracle might happen, for suddenly a flash of red and purple energy exploded with power no one had ever seen before. Lightning tore across the sky to mark this shocking moment, and the crystal stone cracked as energy surged violently out. With the terrified crowd watching, the white-haired principal and Yan stood at the storm's center as a blinding golden light exploded, shattering the crystal stone and tearing the sky apart with red and purple lightning. Yuan stood in the center, eyes wide with shock as he looked up, sweating from the sheer astonishment of seeing the white-haired principal stare at the impossible sight of a god-tier power, only for the crystal to stun them all further by revealing a living profession. The principal stammered in awe at the god-tier pig butcher. The crowd behind the pig butcher burst into loud laughter, pointing and shouting, "Ha!" The white-haired principal's face turned dark as if the heavens were laughing at him, wondering if the man was truly lucky or foolishly cursed for choosing such a silly job. "After years of being a principal, I thought the heavens were just kidding when they finally made my god-tier profession into a useless pig butcher. Even if this white-haired principal were a god-tier master of any craft, I could still boast," for his face was buried in despair as he sighed at Yan, realizing that the grand explosion he expected had turned into nothing but a quiet pile of dust. Yan stood confused, surrounded by a rising wave of blue energy. "Huh?" Suddenly, a system interface popped up before Yan's eyes, packed with details, and he gasped in surprise. "System?" while staring closely at the words Pig Nemesis inside it. A small smile crept across Yuan's lips as he kept reading. You deal 50% more damage to pigs. Yuan's eyes turned bright red and a smug grin tugged at his lips. Maybe being crazy isn't so terrible, because to Yuan, this whole world looked like a crowd of trembling, frightened pigs. This world is filled with pigs. An arrogant shout rang out while the crowd still talked about each one, who stood staring ahead at the giant stone and the old white-haired man, only for mocking laughter to suddenly burst from behind. Two guys, one with red hair and one with brown, were pointing and mocking Yan while the red-haired one sneered. I was sure Ching-Chong Academy had finally created a real dragon who realized he was just a pig butcher, but the brown-haired student chimed in, bursting into laughter and calling it ridiculous. At Ching-Chong Academy, there's only one real dragon, and that's you, brother Lu Jinglong. Lu Jinglong gave a sneaky smirk and muttered, "This kid," right before a soft voice cut through the harsh words. Shuing Chan stood beside Yetwan and softly reassured him, "It's okay, brother," while patting his head as a gentle light wrapped around them. She explained that he had awakened to the god-tier pig butcher profession, just like his father, which made Lu Jinglong and the brown-haired student grind their teeth in anger from across the room. Damn it, that lucky guy must have saved up good luck from past lives, and Ye Chuan just stared at the slightly blushing Shu Lingchan. He thought to himself that Uncle Ye and his father would be thrilled, remembering how they had grown up as neighbors whose parents always tried to match them up for their similar careers, until the old man's loud voice broke his thoughts and turned his attention next to Shuing Chun. Shuing Chun turned to Yan with shining eyes and said, "It's my turn, brother Yuan. I wonder if I'll take up Mom's sewing or Dad's winemaking." She smiled softly, promising to stand by him no matter what job he had, leaving Yuan speechless with wide eyes while Shuling Chun met his gaze with a flushed face and a determined look. The girl with green hair walked onto the platform and touched the stone that was starting to wake up. A sudden flash of blue light filled the room, leaving everyone stunned, but Shu Ling Chun's eyes went wide with shock. The white-haired man screamed in terror, and the whole hall fell silent in disbelief. No one dared to believe what they were seeing as the dazzling light made illusory snowflakes begin to fall. A cold, eerie feeling settled over everything, signaling that something amazing was about to happen, and then the announcement rang out, burning itself into everyone's memory. He steps onto the battlefield as a legendary warrior, wielding an immortal sword that is as cold as snow. It was a famous title that nobody could ever find. Sholing, a chunin with her back to everyone, stood surrounded by swirling blue energy, her long green hair dancing in the light as she looked ethereal, like a heavenly being who had just arrived on Earth. The white-haired man shook with shock, sweat pouring down his face, and he mumbled in pure astonishment. Suddenly, she unlocked a legendary fighting style, making her parents wonder if she was some kind of miracle, while a bright blue light surrounded her and turned her into a shining goddess in the eyes of the stunned crowd. The white-haired man quickly steadied himself and stepped forward to Shu Ling Chun, speaking in a serious voice. "Sholing Chun, do not worry. Whatever you need in the future, Chink Academy will support you," Shuing Chun said with pride as she turned to walk away, and the crowd stared in awe at her confident glow as a girl whispered to her short red-haired friend. One was a butcher and the other a legendary warrior, so why would Su Ling still cling to Yan like a puppy? The short red-haired girl sneered in disdain, making it clear that Zhu Lingchun was advancing too far to let such foolishness stand. But what about Yuan, that loser who should have known better than to stay away from her? As Yan stood there trying to clap, but looking confused and surprised by Shuing Chun's sudden change before she stopped, turned to face him with cold eyes, called out his name, and crossed her arms. She declared coldly that while there have been misunderstandings, everything would be clear from now on, and her words struck Shuing Chun like a knife, plunging straight into Yan's heart, leaving him stunned as he realized they were no longer people of the same world. Behind Yan, Lu Jinglong and the brown-haired student couldn't hide their triumphant smiles, gloating at Yao's heartbreak, while Yan stood frozen with dead eyes, his whole world crumbling beneath him as only one dry word escaped his lips. "Fine," Shu Lingchan sighed, her eyes mixing pity with disgust as she said, "I know this hurts you, only to snap back, stop pretending you're okay. You're just a butcher who'll never amount to anything." As Yuan stared up in shock, everything seemed to crumble around him while he cried out, "Don't blame me." But in his eyes, Shu Lingchan's face warped into a hateful pig as she coldly concluded, "If you have no more complaints, then let it be. Don't bother me again." With that, Yan turned his back and walked away, trying to hide his deep hurt. Behind him, Lu Jinglong let out a victorious laugh. At last, that ugly pig's head was gone. Yan calmly said he was leaving, but Lu Jinglong stepped toward Shuing Chun with a dark look, asking if he should teach Yan a lesson to show him reality. Shu Chun gave a cold, silent nod of agreement, and Lu Jinglong's joy turned to loud mockery as he called out to a puzzled Yan. "Hey, butcher, come here." Lu Jinggong snarled and grabbed Yuan's arm in disbelief, while Yuan's eyes flared red with deadly intent, freezing Lu Jinggong in terror as he stumbled backward in shock. "What's going on?" Lu Jinglong asked, his eyes wide with confusion. In a shocking twist, Yan became a scary butcher while he was a poor pig tied to a block, waiting for death, and he trembled. That look makes me feel like a helpless pig tied to a block, waiting to be cut down. The crowd around them erupted in laughter as they mocked Lu Jinglong. The brown-haired student beside him laughed and acted like he was asking, "Brother Jinglong, are you all right?" While Lu Jinglong's face twisted in anger, he ground his teeth and cursed at the kid before swinging his arm to hit him. "How dare you glare at me?" Yan didn't speak. He just threw a punch. His eyes burned with rage, and his presence exploded outward like a force tearing through space. So his punch hit Lu Jinglong's fist with such terrifying power that it created a massive shockwave, filled the air with a deafening crash like bones breaking, and left Lu Jinglong screaming in agony with his hand twisted and bleeding. Ya's punch landed a deadly blow, leaving Shu Lingchun and the brown-haired student frozen in shock as Lu Jinglong held his aching hand and stared in disbelief, whispering that it couldn't possibly be true. Yan stood there with glowing red eyes and a chilling aura, declaring that being a powerful butcher was perfectly reasonable while the crowd around them talked endlessly. Take a look at Lu Jinglong's hand to see what's going on. The pain and shame turned into a huge, burning rage, making Lu Jinglong roar out in fury. "Yichuan, I'll kill you." He didn't hesitate to summon a brilliant blue long sword, his bloodshot eyes blazing with the intent to strike a fatal blow as the crowd panicked once more, realizing it was over and Lu Jinglong was truly serious now. The kid was definitely dead, which made everyone cheer as Chuan faced big trouble for challenging a combat user like Lu Jinglong, who grinned while his glowing sword promised to slice through steel pipes with ease. "I'll you right here." But then something strange happened. Lu Jinglong's sword froze over with tiny snowflakes, and soon his whole body turned to ice as he screamed in horror that he couldn't move, trembling while staring desperately at Shu Lingchun. "Shu Lingchun, why are you still reaching out to help him?" In the middle of the fake blizzard, Shu Lingchun spoke up and made the fight stop. Standing tall, like a shining statue, with an unblinking gaze, she begged them to stop fighting to the death over her, her weary but firm voice echoing her refusal to watch them sacrifice themselves for her sake. Shu Lingchun stared at Yan, speaking words as sharp as a knife that cut every last bond between them. "Yan, you have seen it too." She declared this was the last time she would help, saying we no longer belong to the same world, while Yuan just picked his ear with an annoyingly indifferent look. He said nothing as if Shu Lingchun's words meant nothing to him. So Zhu Lingchun turned away and warned him to leave Qingcheng, or else next time Lu Jinglong comes looking for revenge, she won't help him. Without waiting for an answer, she faded slowly out of sight. Each one let out a huge yawn, ignoring Shu Lingchun's words and muttering tilde, tilde, tilde before turning around to leave everything behind, leaving the three friends staring at him with their mouths wide open in shock. There's something about this kid that makes him act like nothing matters. Yan's attitude left them completely speechless. After escaping the noisy crowd, Yuan went back to his usual day. He walked down the busy street feeling like he didn't belong, until suddenly a big person and a scary dog monster jumped out and blocked his way. The dog growled, showing its sharp teeth with angry eyes. Ichuan's eyes suddenly turned red and glowed with a fierce light. He gazed at the monster, and a new thought popped into his head right then. She stared at him with a sneer, acting like she had already won. The dog monster growled and lunged to bite Yuan's leg, but he stayed calm and asked the furious woman to move her own dog so she wasn't blocking the road. Young people lack compassion, so each one sighed as a blue glow escaped his mouth at that perfect moment. "I've got a hunch to check out, Ada." Yan kicked the dog monster so hard it flew through the air, and the woman screamed in terror. The dog monster disappeared, leaving just a tiny spirit with a glowing ring floating up. The woman screamed in pure panic, tears streaming down her face. "My son, don't frighten your mother." A system message chimed in, noting that the bonus damage had gone up by 1%. Yan stared at the screen, his red eyes wide with shock as he whispered, "Just as I thought, it works." Right before the overweight woman lunged at him with her claws out, screaming, "You damn murderer! How dare you kill my son and bully a poor old woman like me? I will fight you to the death." Each one stared coldly at her and spoke only those few words. I've met a psychopath whose crimson eyes stared coldly at a trembling woman who was terrified after seeing the word pescopath printed on a shirt. Killing my dog is one thing, But even if he kills me, I'll still be worth nothing. Suddenly, the woman's face flipped from anger to a bright smile, telling the young man it was nothing and wishing him well. But after that awkward scene, Jan went back to his peaceful home where his burly father laughed and jokingly asked if he had switched jobs to be a pig butcher while his mother smiled gently. And though Jan just nodded, his father patted his shoulder to say that being an honest butcher was better than fighting and that he really was just like him. It's better for us to become honest pig butchers than to keep on fighting and killing each other. Tomorrow, I'll take you to the slaughterhouse to see how things work. But now night has fallen with a crescent moon hanging in the stars, leaving the house quiet while Yuchuan sleeps soundly in his funny pig pajamas. But in the dark, a ghostly figure with glowing blue eyes drifted past the window to watch Jan's parents sleep. Inside the dream, his father leaned close and spoke in a soft voice. I'm sure you know my son is just a regular pig butcher, so please stop coming around and messing with our quiet life. A shadowy figure thought to himself, his words bouncing off the empty darkness. I never imagined the crying demon son would really be a pig butcher. He doubted if Qianwan was truly the child's father, as Jan's eyes turned red with rage, and he coldly warned the dark figure to stop disturbing their peace. Otherwise, I won't be polite, the dark figure muttered as he faded away, his voice lingering like mist. Don't be mad. Since your son is just a pig butcher, the organization will leave you alone, the dark figure said before vanishing. And a new bloody day began at the slaughterhouse, where Jan and his father walked in to see hanging pork cuts and a man with wild hair clumsily handling a knife, while his father pulled back the curtain with a distant look in his eyes. Jan stood right beside him, apron already on and ready to start his new job. A shiny cabinet holding big cutting knives suddenly showed up. Jan's father spoke in a deep voice, telling him that a skilled pig butcher always begins with a sharp knife, then turned to Jan with a smile. Son, pick the knife that feels best in your hand, and Jan stared wide-eyed at the 3 blades before grabbing one that glowed with a magical blue light, whispering, "This one feels right," as a system message popped up in his mind. The butcher's chosen blade is now active, granting you a free stat point for every giant, screaming pig you slay. Jan's father told the terrified pig that to be a butcher, one must first learn to wield a knife, and as the animal's white eyes and sharp fangs showed in horror, his father commanded a strike at its weakest spot to end its life. You try. Each one stood tall, with a steady look, then swung the knife. A flash of red light ripped through the air, striking the huge pig, which then bled out, its blind white eyes popping wide with terror before it crumpled to the ground as the system announced a normal pig had been chilled. Your level and your power against pig-type foes both grew by 1%. You got 0.1 free points to add to your stats. After the monster pig crashed down, Yuchuan's father let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding, wiped the sweat from his face, praised his son's success, but also made sure to point out where he could still improve. Well done, but you should have aimed for the artery in his neck to kill him instantly, Yuchuan thought as he nodded at his father. Yes, he knew that in the butchering trade, every knife cut had to be fast and exact with no room for mistakes. So his father gently put a hand on Yuan's shoulder and spoke with full understanding. Son, I know that butchering pigs must seem incredibly boring and repetitive for someone your age. But since this is the job that pays our bills, Yuan suddenly looked up at his father with burning eyes and pointed at the last few pigs in the pen, begging to kill them all himself by asking, Father, can you let me butcher these remaining pigs all by myself? The father burst out laughing, patted his son's shoulder, and said, You're truly my own boy. If you like, you can even help butcher Uncle Lee and Uncle Chen's pigs. So he trusted Yan completely, and Yan dove into the work with eyes burning red. The shiny blade sliced through the air, bringing down the next pig. The system chimed once more, confirming his level up with a clear notification. After the normal pigs were chilled, the system announced X1 had leveled up to 2 with a 1% increase. So Yan kept swinging his knife without stopping, landing powerful strikes that earned him another level with every hit. The normal pig has been chilled, and the X1 level has gone up by 1%. After leveling up to 3, Yan worked hard, cutting down pigs one by one, while the system kept popping up to show his steady growth, finally marking a normal pig as chilled and boosting his level by 1%. As the sky faded into dusk, and the system's chime hummed in the background of Yan's tireless work, the young butcher finally rested surrounded by dozens of processed pigs, only to see his rank climb to 5 with a 100% bonus against them, while a muscular man stared at his father in disbelief at his son's incredible speed, prompting the proud parent to cross his arms and declare with a simple, beaming smile that his boy was truly a divine pig butcher. He had mastered his skill with a newfound comfort, yet as he stood by the heavy blade, a sudden thought pulled him toward the unknown. The next day, Yan shouldered his pack, stepped through the giant gate of the fifth zone's edge, and began his journey into a wild world where countless races, chaotic monsters, and a united human federation now lived alongside endless danger. Yeyuan slipped through the heavy gate with his backpack, leaving the guards behind to step into a shadowy forest where dim light filtered through the leaves, only to be stopped by a man wielding a giant axe who warned him that as a life-sustaining healer, he could never venture more than a kilometer from the city's edge. If you step even one more foot ahead, your life could end in danger. Ichuan nodded with a steady look, showing he was ready to face whatever dangers lay ahead on his own path. Every step was taken with careful caution and sharp watchfulness. A weird noise broke the quiet of the woods, causing Yan to spin around and look sharply for what had made it. A green goblin suddenly jumped out of the bushes with a sharp dagger, showing its sharp teeth in a scary way. Dada Ichuan spotted the enemy. His cold stare locked onto the monster, confirming it was a goblin. So Yuan ignited his blood-red skill to unleash a blazing slash that terrified the creature into dust before the system cheered his victory. After defeating the pig goblin and leveling up, Ichuan realized that killing tougher pigs brought better rewards. But his green eyes flashed from the dark forest around him. He remembered his master's warning that finding even one goblin meant a whole horde had already taken notice. So with a cold gaze and his gleaming cleaver, he stepped forward ready for his next level up. "Come on, you pig goblins!" His challenge rang out, marking the start of a bloody fight. The horde of goblins roared with their jagged fangs bared and lunged forward together,